Hidden Faces, Slavery at Sea. A 5-year-old boy is sold into slavery at sea for the price of a cow. He is made to work as a fisherman for up to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. He is beaten with whips, sexually abused, and given scraps to eat. He watches the other people he knows drown. They're forced to dive underwater to untangle fishing nets without oxygen. Even if they happen to come up, many times they're paralyzed. He lost his arm in the heavy boating equipment late one night. They burnt the wound closed and sent him back to work. It has been 3 years since he has felt land beneath his feet. He watches as some of the other children on the boat, children he has grown to call friends, commit suicide to escape the conditions. And when they die and become another anonymous corpse resting in the bottom of the ocean, the boat keeps moving as another child moves on to take their place.
Have you ever wondered how that fish got to your plate? Have you considered the hidden human cost? There are approximately 3 million people currently enslaved within the fishing industry, according to the International Labor Organization. Men, women, and children are lured by traffickers promising good employment opportunities. Once recruited, they find themselves unable to leave because of the threat of violence towards themselves or family members, physical confinement on and offshore, the withholding of wages, and the debts they incur through the recruitment process. Labor traffickers prey on vulnerable populations, including migrants, refugees, children, and the disabled. They use fear of stigmatization and abuse to silence victims. They steal migrant passports and threaten to take away their visa eligibility. Victims can find themselves stranded in a foreign country or even at sea, alone with no options. What role does the U.S. play in this? The United States is complicit in this type of worldwide labor trafficking. The U.S., in their own report, found that we imported $9.5 billion worth of untraceable slave-caught seafood in 2020. Top exporters being Indonesia, China, Thailand, and Vietnam. The United States International Trade Commission found that $2.4 billion worth of imported seafood in 2019 was derived from illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, or IUU. This report also found that the removal of this IUU imported seafood from U.S. supply chains would have positive economic impact on the American fishing industry. In fact, the report says the removal of IUU imports would increase total operating income of the U.S. commercial fishing industry by an estimated $60.8 million. By removing this type of imported seafood from American supermarkets, the United States could both support local fishing industries and stop funding traffickers overseas.
U.S. law banning slavery at sea includes the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement of 2020, the Trade Facilitation and Trade Enforcement Act of 2015, Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000, Racketeering, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act of 2000, Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime with Protocol to Prevent, Suppress, and Punish Trafficking in Persons, especially women and children, Abolition of Forced Labor Convention No. 29 of 1930, League of Nations Slavery Convention of 1926, Worst Forms of Child Labor Convention No. 182, the Geneva Convention, Alien Tort Claims Act of 1789. We have been legislating on this problem since 1930, yet slavery at sea persists.
The U.S. government knows about imports using slave labor, so much so that laws have been put in place to prevent these goods from coming into America. Yet, we still see no action. Customs and Border Patrol has had the opportunity to fight against child labor and forced labor through the implementation of withhold release orders. Withhold release orders forbids the importation of goods mined, produced, or manufactured by forced labor, including forced child labor. To date, there has only been one fine against one company, Stevia. There are currently 5 active investigations on seafood vessels, yet nothing has happened. The government does not publicize specific detentions, re-exportations, exclusions, or seizures of the products that may have resulted from the withhold release orders. Accountability and transparency are necessary in order to make sure that seafood reaching the United States has not been caught by child slaves.
When we do our grocery shopping, we want to go home feeling excited about our food. We ask questions like, is it organic? Is it gluten-free? Is it sustainably sourced? But sustainably sourced does not account for the hidden human costs. Sustainably sourced does not refer to the child forced onto a fishing vessel, or the man whose family believes he's dead while he is forced to work day after day in brutal conditions, wishing he could go home. We know that oceans, seas, and marine resources are increasingly destroyed or threatened by human activities and pollution. We also know that the oceans are overfished, and not only is this terrible for the environment, but it also means fishermen have to travel further and further to catch whatever remains. Further and further away from their homes, further away from safety, further into the hands of traffickers. Buying local and sustainably sourced seafood from a supplier that implements mechanisms for traceability can address all of these interwoven issues. This way, we can reduce the negative impact that overfishing has to the ocean and reduce the hidden human cost as well.
Hidden conditions, hidden faces, hidden costs. We can't hide from the truth of slavery at sea any longer, but traceability can help. There are already people working to improve traceability within the fishing industry, like Red's Best in Boston. They use technology to maintain a traceable, unbroken supply chain where consumers can use a QR code to access information about where the fish they buy comes from. And as consumers, we could try to make good choices, but we also need the industry to change. Ask your local grocery store or restaurant where they get their fish. Support local fishermen. Only buy traceable seafood. Help make the sustainably caught logo include sustainability for workers. We also know that consumers can't change entire industries by themselves. The United States needs to prioritize refusing goods made with forced labor from entering the country. The law is there, and we're asking the Biden administration to enforce the law. Tell Customs and Border Protection, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and the Department of Homeland Security to keep goods created by slavery out of America. Sign our petition linked in the bio below to show the government that you care about the hidden human cost of slavery at sea.